Hey everyone, Andres from Newsreel here, and I'm going to be doing a quick comparison test of Android Wear, or as it's now known as Wear OS, versus Samsung's proprietary Tizen software, which is still running 3.0 on the Samsung Gear S2 Classic. Now, there is a semi comparison I'll be doing of Samsung's uh, S2 Classic versus the Gear Sport, because there are differences in between. But first and foremost, I want to address Wear OS. Now, technically, this is the Wear24 watch from Verizon. It's for the most part a nice watch. I'm not gonna do a review on it. You can find some reviews from other users online. Now, will share my 2 cents with it. I paid about $60 for this thing, brand new. I like its build for the most part. Like most complaints, I don't like that the glass is really not even flush with the frame. It actually sticks out a bit, as you can see. So this is going to be really scratched up and beat up over time. And I try not to wear it as often, especially since whenever I go out for construction job sites, it's just asking to be brutalized. Now, the negative thing about this is that you can switch the bands, and that's good reasons too, because the bands are the 4G LTE antenna bands for the watch itself, so that's why you can't replace them. Now, call qualities, it's a watch, so it sounds distorted a little, but it's nice to know that you can, if you're in a pinch, be able to do phone calls and receive phone calls, text messaging to this watch, stand alone without the phone. So that's a real biggie for someone like me that's had network issues with an unlocked device on Verizon. Yeah, they still don't play nice, but I don't want to use a Verizon branded phone because of the bloatware and the lack of software updates. Now, I'll tell you the number one thing I hate about the Android Wear experience. Some has changed, obviously, from the last time I reviewed Android Wear on the Huawei watch. The Huawei watch is really nice, but in comparison to say this one, this is running Android Wear 2.0. I had to get used to not being able to rotate to my apps or widgets to the when I swipe to the right, because it switches watch faces on me. When using Tizen, when I on my watch face and I turn, I get to my widgets. So after using the Samsung uh, software, I got so used to that even with the bezel I can do it, which is pretty great experience overall, because it's not just a touch interface. You can use some kind of physical manipulation of the screen, such as two side buttons, one which is home, another one's kind of like to go back, press and hold. You can launch Samsung Pay, or in this case use the bezel to rotate between your widgets, or scroll among apps, which is with the apps button here at the bottom, which is really cool. Now, I had to retrain myself to do that very same maneuvering, but on Android Wear or Wear OS, because to the right, again, it's the watch face, which was pretty annoying. So, because I kept doing that all the time, and I had to go down to see my notifications. Whereas on Samsung, I would swipe left. So to get to my apps, it's a push of the button. It's like, oh, okay. And the carousel is a little annoying, because when you have too many apps like I do, then you're going to be scrolling a lot. Now, you can pin some of them to the top with these marking of the stars to make it your favorites. But if you do that to almost all of them, then you're still going to be scrolling a lot. You can see your recent 3 apps there. And one thing that's definitely annoying is that if you have an app that you open, for example, such as my walk, when this thing goes home, or when you put your arm down and you bring it back up, then trying to get to the app is like, oh, how do you get back to the app? You can't really immediately switch to your other apps. Like, okay, so where is it? And I had to literally go back into the app, which is here. Now, there's a trick that anybody knows, they can please leave it for me. So let's do a start workout. I'm not going to save it, but let's say I'm using it. This thing is technically a remote control for the app on my Android phone, which is something I like and I don't like. What I don't like is that if it were a standalone app, that means it would use the heart rate monitor on the back of the watch to be able to get my specs here, but I'm not getting any of that. Well, it doesn't really matter anyway since there's no heart rate tracker on this one, but on the fitness watch, because I did consider the Polar M600, which is an Android Wear fitness centric watch, it turned me off to that. So now, right here, you can see the app when the screen went black and I turned it back on. It is on the app. So now let's say I am home. Look at that, it's glitching. Okay. I guess there should be an overlay. All right, there is the app. So that is one good thing, I suppose, about it, but I don't like that it's glitching like that. Kind of weird. But at least it's there, and I guess to go back to it, I just tap on it and it should open. Yeah, it does. And is that, yeah, it's assuming that I'm still doing the workout. So I'm going to stop now and say I'm not saving it. And ta-da. But I don't like that. It has been a kind of a glitchy experience with the device. Other than that, I do like that it has the apps. And here I go again. I keep forgetting how to go back into the app carousel because I'm so used to Samsung's way of doing things. But let's see how long it takes for the Google Play Store to open on this thing. Now, to answer a couple of questions that I have received regarding Android Wear itself, first and foremost, is Google still supporting Android Wear? The answer is yes. Google just rebranded as Wear OS. So it can be kind of Android agnostic, if you will. So the two are not, I guess, assumed to be the same, because even Google rebranded their Google Pay. Look at that. It's not connecting, even though it is connected. It's connected to 4G LTE and connected to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so I don't know what's going on here. It's just hanging there. So that's one thing I haven't liked, that Verizon has not updated this guy at all. Let's see if I can get to the settings. I know I can get to the settings from the top here down. This is a watch that debuted not even a year ago. So let's see system. Let's go to system, about, device name, versions, tap to view. There it is, Android Wear 2.8, and it's running Android 7.1.1. The last security patch was March 5th. That is one of the reasons I absolutely hate just about anything on Verizon, and for devices that are, I guess, generic, that they do not get any software updates of the sort. This is one of those things. Not that I use it all that much to really care, but for those of you that invest hundreds of dollars in a device that's meant to be, I guess, supported by the carrier or manufacturer, you'd want to know that it's supported. And as far as I know, this thing has never gotten an update since launch. So that's very disappointing. And ever since Google rebranded Android Wear to Wear OS, this watch is not on the list of watches that will be getting the rebranding on the software. So that's also a bummer. This thing's kind of like a forgotten timepiece, so to speak. So there you go. That's my gripe with Android Wear / Wear OS. But outside of that, it's a shame, because this is actually a pretty neat old device that could have been able to do a lot more if the software itself was not still a jarbled mess. We'll see what Wear OS 1.0 or 3.0, whatever they're going to call it, might turn out to be. Because will there be some? Apparently so, or else why would Google rebrand it? No, unless they were trying to do, if they weren't trying to do some kind of marketing push. So I know they will do a marketing push. So does Google still support it? The answer is yes. So will there be a Pixel watch? That's still something to see, but I think Google's still waiting to see if Android Wear continues to pick up. Again, Android Wear has the advantage that it has the apps, and it has a ton of them. Some of them are just literally like remote controls for certain applications, but then again, with this one being a 4G LTE watch, that means messaging of the sorts, Google Play Music and Pandora, the Google Play Store, that all streams from the watch as a standalone experience, which is pretty cool. There's local storage here that you can store your own music, pair to Bluetooth, and just go on your merry way. Especially if you're into fitness, a more fitness-centered focused watch will be able to handle more of your on-the-go needs without having to take your phone, which less weight on you is always nicer. So that's one huge advantage of something like this, whereas I do not have something like that on the Samsung device. Now, one thing in general about 4G LTE connected devices from carriers, I can definitely speak to that on Verizon. I know AT&T has something of the sort too. It's kind of like called number share or whatever. So even though there's a proprietary number associated with the eSIM that's in this watch, whenever I get phone calls or messaging to my Verizon number, they will land here too as if it's part of the watch. Now, when I make calls out, I can also make it that this watch is calling out from my cell phone number instead of the watch number, which is something I actually truly enjoy. It's very convenient. I know it's not centric to just say an Android Wear device on Verizon. It also works for the Samsung Gears that are LG 4G LTE connected on Verizon, and also the Apple Watches. So that's pretty cool. One last thing that I do really like about Android Wear, where it's very it has an advantage on almost a bunch of other uh, manufacturers of wearables, is the way you interact with the watch. Now I really hate this band, so I'm just gonna try to make it snug as best I can, but I really don't like this band. That's the unfortunate part of it. You either take it or leave it. This is water resistant, by the way. I should have informed that. So I have notifications, right? Twist the wrist, and there it is. Twist the wrist, there it is. Now, twist down, I go back. Now, technically, I should be able to open the app by forcing this down, but it didn't. Don't know why. But there it is. I like that you can interact with it with your wrist. With some of those wrist gestures. And of course, the greatest advantage of this thing is being able to have this guy handy. What's the weather like tomorrow? I wonder if it heard me. Okay, I don't know why the watch is acting really, really slow. I'm not trying to stage anything here. I literally just booted this up from a clean restart like I did with the Samsung watch. So whatever is going on with this guy, it's its own issue. Let's try that again. What's the weather like tomorrow? There it goes again, see? I just troubleshoot this guy. It's not on airplane mode, so I don't know what's going on. It's connected to LTE and Bluetooth, like I said. So whatever it is, don't know what it is. And I'm not going to linger on it. This video is going to be long enough. So that's Android Wear, soon to be Wear OS on whatever Android Wear device you have. Now, Tizen comparisons here. Samsung Gear Sport, Samsung Gear S2 Classic Platinum, whatever they call it, such a long name. Both of these are very similar in experience. The optical sensors are different, as I learned. This one is considerably more accurate when it's tracking your heart rate. This is an older sensor that's not as accurate. Um, they're not as well, I would say. Just I think it's an achievement that the Gear Sport is not that much thicker, considering this one it can actually resist salt water, as I have learned. You can go swimming with it. This one, no, be careful. So even though it says water resistant, doesn't make it waterproof. So just keep an eye out for that. Now the experience, like I said, is very, very similar across Tizen for Gear S2, Gear S3s. Not so much the Gear Sport, because the Gear Sport is tailored to fitness. So I guess you could call it like an in-between of the Gear Fit, the Gear Fits and the Gear Classics of Samsung's lineup, because even though it has Samsung Health widgets, the widgets are very different, as I immediately learned. And let's go back to this one. There we go. Water and caffeine are now separated, as the widgets show, and there's a ton more widgets in this one for health that I had to get used to seeing, and it has active heart rate monitoring that I've noticed, versus this one is still, you got to trigger it automatically, because it just does. But anyway, for the most part, the experience is the same, although there are different iconographies that I have noticed, such as when bringing down the notification shade, or I'm sorry, I guess the shortcut menu. It does give you something very different, and as you can see, the icons are different as well. There's more space in this screen because it's slightly bigger than the S2 as far as I know, and of course it will have more space, but it's really nice that there's more use of this real estate here than the plainness that is on this one. Now they're both on the latest variations of their respective softwares. I have enjoyed both experiences very much because it's seamless for the most part. One of my favorite things about the Samsung experience is that you can have this, including Gear Fits, on your connected to your phone, but depending on which one you're wearing, there's something called wrist detection. So if I'm wearing this one and I put it on my wrist, the device is going to send a notification to the phone that I'm using this watch. So it'll just sync everything up to this phone, send notifications to this phone, to this watch alone from the phone. And when I take this one off and I put this one on, it switches over to this one to track this one. And the same thing with the the Gear Fits. Oh my goodness, I gotta keep all these devices together, right? So it makes it for a really awesome experience. Now, Samsung Pay is the same for both of these because, well, they are. It only works on NFC. And one more thing about NFC I'm going to get to on that watch that I just showed you. But anyway, they only work on NFC, and they're both triggered by pressing and holding up here. Now, if you're new to setting this up, you must know that you're not going to find the Samsung Pay app directly on the phone or through the phone app. You have to actually trigger it from the top of the watch when you're first launching it, because it's already built into the software. It just sometimes doesn't show immediately, so you wake it up by pressing here, and it'll invite you to set it up for the first time, as I'm showing on both. You can add a card, etc. So now, regarding this watch, it does have NFC. This is a fully spec'd out watch. When it first launched, it was at least $300 on a contract with Verizon, and I told you I got it for $60. This has NFC, but since it's never got any updates, this cannot do Android Pay, so that's a big bummer. So if you want to get a cheap Android Wear watch, you can definitely get this. If you're trying to use Android Pay, go somewhere else, especially if you don't like silicone rubber bands like these, as well, you can't switch them. Now, which one do I wear mostly now? That's definitely the Gear Sport. I definitely got used to this watch that I've been using because I'm a lot more fitness centric. I even got a particular band to match my Under Armour band with the red in the back. As you can see, I like the red and black look for some reason. It's kind of like my thing. And I've really enjoyed using this because of the accuracy of the heart rate monitor, when the optical heart rate monitor, when I'm tracking some certain workouts that I cannot use my heart strap with, because if I'm face down, that heart rate strap is just like pushing into my chest, and I can't really do workouts comfortably that way. So I'm definitely using the Gear Sport mostly now, especially since my lifestyle has changed to something I'm considering more active, and it's been a great deal of fun. But this guy's still there, and it's still beautiful. It's taken a beating, but it doesn't look beat up at all. And I work in construction and real estate, so this thing has really shown its durability. So it's a testament to its quality, which is why I'm so concerned about what would happen to this guy if I do use it daily. But because of the Android Wear OS experience, I'm not a big fan of that. And just a commentary on Apple Watch Series 3 that my wife has. I really respect that watch. I think that Apple finally really nailed the feature set on it. It has a really good optical heart rate monitor as well, and just like the Samsung experience, not so much the Android Wear. Yeah, it has the apps, but one of the things that has an advantage of is that the apps that are built into, say, Samsung, just like Apple, it's not some kind of remote just for the apps that are built into your phone. They're fully fledged apps. And if I can open, say, the Under Armour record app here, if it'll launch in a timely manner, this is the full experience on the watch, separate from the phone. It just needs the connectivity so it could synchronize to the Under Armour servers, which is really, really cool. I like that because it's a full experience instead of just something very limited like Android Wear was showing me. Let's see if I can get to that. Will it launch? It should launch. Okay, it's just switching among facts here. Okay, record. Is it UA record? Yeah, it is. It's record on the other apps. See, it'll just it'll be something kind of limited, and that's it. That's all it shows me. Select the workout. It's a lot faster to launch for sure, but that's all it is. And at the end of the day, it's really just like a remote access to the app on your phone. Whereas on something like this, you get a full experience of the application on your wrist. Very similar experience on Apple Watch. So I'm really glad I got that from my wife, because both of us are now doing fitness together, and as we intensify our workouts, we'll be able to have a better experience without having to carry our phones. So looking forward to getting to that point. But anyway, that's my comparison of these wearables nowadays. Is Android Wear still something worthwhile getting? That's another question that I got. I'd say wait and see. If you really want to try something out that's still being supported, because these watches are still expensive for the Gear S2, which is at least 2 years old now, I definitely say go for it, because they're still being supported by Samsung, and they get some updates regularly every now and then. And especially if you're using Samsung Health, I definitely recommend it, because that's why I got these guys. And exclusive Under Armour experience suite is on these watches, including the Gear Fits. So I definitely recommend that if you're into the fitness side of things. If that's not your thing and you really want to have the best of Google on a wearable, then there's no other option than getting this for your Android Wear watch. And there really isn't any other experience than an Android Wear or a Wear OS experience on a wearable, because of the Google Assistant and all your Google apps in one place, and of course the apps on this, because you don't get that many apps on this guy. You get a ton of watch faces, but not that many apps yet. So we'll see, because Samsung is climbing up the charts in their share of the market on wearables. So maybe some developers will definitely jump on that. But anyway, I don't want to make this any longer than it is. I just wanted to share that comparison with all of you guys. It's been a while since I've done something this in depth. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, stay in the know per usual. And you can follow me on Instagram, where I'm doing a little bit of everything there, from fitness, from personal to business, and of course the tech corner. So check that out. Every link to my social media will be in the video description down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. This is Andres for Newsreel, signing out.